Hey guys, happy Sunday. I hope you are having a glorious Sunday. Let me know what you guys had cooked up this past week and maybe what shenanigans you guys got into this weekend. But before we go any further, if you don't know who I am Tara with Kittens, Weights, and Tarot. You can learn a little bit more about me by checking out the information box down below, perhaps checking out the website, kittensweightsandtarot.com, maybe even checking out the witchy shop, Desert Cauldron, which, by the way, we are getting really low on a lot of the stock in Desert Cauldron because just a lot of people have been enjoying a lot of my witchy goodies and handmade items and native made items. So definitely go check it out. Yeah, and by the way, we are what, 14, 13, no, 12. We're 12 days away from Samhain, from Halloween. So that means that November 1st is coming soon, All Souls Day, Dia de los Muertos, Dia de los Niños, but also that newsletter that I put out once a month on the first of every month. I don't play the spam game. So if you are interested in a magical newsletter chock full of like DIY recipes, tea recipes, herbal information, crystal information, channels I'm watching, books I'm reading, then definitely check out the newsletter. And the link for that is also down below. All right, we have a lot of our friends already here. So hello, hello. We have Mia Pia is here saying cool, cool. And Riley said, good morning, beautiful people. Bastet is here saying, hey. Lilith Phoenix is here. She says, hello, everyone. Hello, amazing, wonderful Tara. Well, thank you. And hello to you. I am so excited for today's live chat, as I always am, actually, every week. So I am equally as excited as I always am to hang out with you guys. But we are going to be channeling one of my favorite poet and authors. I'm kind of a big book nerd. I was an English teacher for a really long time, and I always enjoyed when I was able to integrate a little bit of my favorite author, Edgar Allan Poe. So we are going to be channeling him today. And that was based on the votes that I put out on the Thursday public poll, YouTube channel member poll, and Patreon poll. And it was kind of unanimous. I mean, there are a few votes here and there for some other of the choices that I had for that poll, but a lot of people seem to have wanted a channeling of Edgar Allan Poe. So we will do our weekly reading first. Then we will get into our channeling. Then we will do some hats and super stickers. And then I want to try something a little bit different for our guided meditation. I actually want to try a little bit of hypnosis with you guys. I think that might be fun. But anyway, so for Edgar Allan Poe, for that channeling, start thinking now while we're doing a weekly reading for anybody who would like to be a guest interviewer for that channeling. So Riley will be able to put the link on the chat section for anybody who would like to be a guest interviewer. So if you're interested, definitely let us know anytime between now and the end of the weekly reading. If you're like, heck yeah, I'll be a guest interviewer, then we will put that link for you up there on the screen. You do not have to show your image if you don't wish. I know some people are very shy, but you can if you would like. And also, for everybody who's in the live chat today, they will be posting their questions. So if you feel kind of nervous, like, oh, I don't know what questions I might ask Edgar Allan Poe, no worries. Everybody in the chat, I know, has tons of questions to ask him. So Riley will be posting those people's questions on the screen, so you can just read it directly from the screen. And then if you have some questions that come up for yourself, of course, go ahead and ask those questions. But I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And, to kind of get in the mood, I brought my raven candle. I was going to light it, but it's a little too breezy, and I don't think the flame would stay lit. So I have my little raven candle anyway. And I have the complete tales and poems of Edgar Allan Poe. And look at those gilded pages. This is such a lush book. And I used to have like a green version-ish of this book, and it was a little bit thicker in the leather. But unfortunately, when half my house caught fire when I was growing up, a lot of my books burned up, and one of them was my Edgar Allan Poe book. But I have since found this book. It's a beauty. I'm glad I have it. And I like to bust out some of the stories every now and then. And I think that I would like to do that before we get into the channeling. So I really feel into Mr. Poe's energy. I would like to read one of his poems. And I'm kind of torn between whether I want to do the Telltale Heart or the Raven. Because, well, I mean, I like a lot of them. I like all of them, actually. But we'll see. um, let's see. Costalini's here. It says cute earrings. Thank you. There is a guy out in Idlewild, and he has a place called Mountain Mike's, and he made these. And when I saw them, I was like, oh, must have, must acquire. So yes, I have these, and I'm very, very excited about them. Mia Pia says, hello, my friend. And Lilith Phoenix says, that is wonderful. All righty. So let's go ahead and dive into our weekly reading. I highly encourage you guys to chime in on the reading. If you're feeling something about this upcoming week, you've got some downloads going on, you're channeling yourself, then by all means, go ahead and put that in the chat. Or maybe you're slinging cards and that's how you access your intuition, or maybe you're tossing the runes, tossing the bones, maybe. Speaking of bones, I couldn't live without my bones that are up on my property. I have my wolf skulls, I have my coyote skull, I have a bunch of like horse bones I found, and deer bones and elk bones and things like that. And I really like my bones, and I just felt like I was too far away from them, but they needed to be here with me. So when we went to my property yesterday, I brought my bones. This is not one of the bones. No, I did not find a human hand, but I thought this would be cool to help pull some of the cards for our weekly reading. So, to get us in the Halloweeny Samhain spirit. But the decks I have for this weekly reading, I have the Vintage Wisdom Oracle, because I will be slanging some cards. And inside this little pouch, I have the Relatives Tarot, which looks like this, has also some gilded edging and some beautiful cards. So those cards are going to sit off to the side. And then I have the Victorian Gothic Lenormand. And the reason I have this deck is because there is an Edgar Allan Poe card in here. And maybe I'll actually pull him out as the significator during our channeling to help out with that. Let's see. Silver Star Priestess is here. Hey, what up, girl? She says, hey, beautifuls, popping in on my break at work. And Shadowlands, hey, we could definitely pull you a card, Shadowlands. Let's pull that card right after our weekly reading, and then we'll get into our channeling. And then afterwards, we'll do other super chats and super stickers. Silver Star Priestess says, hello, everyone. Hope you're all well. Sending warm hugs. Same to you, my sister. Okay, so let's see. Let me find the Edgar Allan Poe. There he is. So I'm going to set this card out to kind of help us as well. So let me just put that right there. Okay, and then so yeah, we'll do our weekly reading, and then Shadowlands, I'll pull that card for you. And then after we do our channeling, we'll do the rest of our super chats and super stickers. Okay, so let's see. Let's pull a theme card. Hold on, let me get the correct hand. There we go. It's my skeleton hand. Let us pull a theme card for this upcoming week. Okay. I don't know if I could shuffle with my bone hand though. It might be difficult after I'm dead and I'm just bones. I don't know if I could just shuffle with my bones, I might have to read my own bones. Oh, that'd be interesting. I'm like, what do my bones got to say? Okay. So theme card for this upcoming week. I still am feeling that big shift, for maybe tonight, tomorrow. But like I said, I feel like it's really positive. And again, I'm not quite sure. It's still a little fuzzy. Normally my intuition isn't that fuzzy, but it is in this one instance where I feel like I'm not sure if is this a world thing, or is this just a shift going on with me? But as they say, as within, so without, as above, so below. So I don't know. We'll see, but I feel like it's a positive step, a positive change, something good happening. So I'm excited. All right. The card we have I don't know. Is my hand gonna hold it? We'll see. No, my hand will try to hold it. This says new beginnings. Wasn't that interesting? Because I just said that I thought that, either tonight, tomorrow, there was like something good, some like new chapter, some newness happening. And here we have this new beginnings card. So perhaps, it is. Maybe it is something for the whole collective that there's just like this new feeling. It doesn't necessarily have to be an event that happens in our lives. Sometimes it's just a feeling. And you guys have gotten, I know that we've all gotten that feeling from time to time where, when we just decide it's time for a change, where maybe we've been on the fast food train for a while and we just decide, that today, what, right now it's whatever, 2:14. I am going to make myself a salad, or I am going to make myself a steak or something instead of going out and buying fast food. I want to start making food at home. And you just decide, like you find like today is the day. It's time for this new chapter. Sometimes it's like, today is the day, I really want to try meditation. And even if it doesn't last, 15, 20 minutes, even if it lasts only a minute, I just want to try. I just want to like start that newness, that new beginning. So I feel like this is perhaps collective wide then, where we're all just like ready for something new. And so it doesn't need to be like friggin' aliens coming out of the sky, or I just, Sasquatch comes and knocks on my door and it's like, what's up? Let's hang out. It doesn't necessarily have to be a massive event. It's just that inward event where something is like, it's time. That thing that I always wanted to do, that thing I always wanted to try, the way I've always wanted to be or see myself, or, the power I've always wanted to step into is now. Like now is the time. So let me put this card aside so I can reference it as I pull some of our other cards. How apropos. There's a raven cawing outside right now. I dig it. What is up? Raven's probably like, you speak Raven? Oh, I hear another one in the distance. Interesting. Bastet says, went fishing yesterday, caught a smallmouth bass, but bass was only fish. All right. Well, cool. Very cool. Lilith says, you did say you felt something on the horizon for tomorrow. I did. I still feel it. Lilith says, I wrote my first song this week. Very exciting. My gosh, freaking high five. That's amazing. I love it. Silver Star says, your title is so fitting. Oh, yes. Channeling Edgar Allan Poe. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's pull a few cards here. Talk to me, relative tarot. Talk to me, baby. Well, technically, it's not the tarot that's talking to me. Talk to me, Tara. Talk to me, higher self. Soul, what you got? All right. Hold on. I want to continue using my hand. We have the Seven of Swords. We have the Four of Pentacles. Interesting card so far. And we have the Three of Wands. Hey, baby. Three of Wands. Okay. Let's put them all together. I don't think my hand could hold them all, my bony hand anyway. So I'll hold them for you guys. Okay, so Seven of Wands, Four of Pentacles, Three of Wands. Or sorry, a Seven of Swords. Did I say Wands? Seven of Swords, Four of Pentacles, and then the Three of Wands. And then we still have that theme card of new beginnings this week. But interesting that this Seven of Swords is coming in over here. So let's go ahead and tap into that. Okay. So this definitely feels like it's an individual thing. This is not like a global event. Like I said, this is not like the movie Independence Day, and this whole, everybody's in on the whole alien invasion. this feels more like what I was talking about, just like it's time for this newness, this new chapter. But I feel like we've been calling this in, this Three of Wands. So it's like everybody's soul individually, maybe we've been doing it at a conscious level, maybe it's been at a subconscious level, but at some level, your soul's been like, I'm ready. I am ready. Like of all the things that I've been through in my life and all of like the experiences I have, all the experiences I've had lately, all the people that I've met, just this, like, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready to start. Like, just do this. Like, come on. And so that's getting fed into the collective. So the whole collective is ready for like a let's do this. Like, come on, game on, let's do it. So I'm really feeling that with the Three of Wands. And then with this Four of Pentacles, though, I'm not really feeling like it's a whole lot of intense action on our part. So it's not necessarily like I'm going to go from being sedentary for the past 15 years to tomorrow I'm going to go run the LA marathon. It's it's too much, too fast, too soon. So this feels like it's more this mindset that we get in tomorrow, and or perhaps sometime this week. Maybe for me it's tomorrow, I don't know. But for sometime this week it's like, you know what? I'm just ready. And that's the catalyst. That's what we need, because we could try new things, like maybe I'm going to try a new, like, meditation, or I'm going to try, maybe a new religion, or I'm going to go try a different way of eating or a different way of being. I'm going to just like try to hang out with new friends. But if your heart's not into it, then we are destined to quote unquote failure. It just means it's not going to work out just because we're not ready. So it's neither good nor bad. It's just that, maybe at the time that we tried that thing, we just weren't ready for that thing. But now we are ready for that thing. And that starts inside. So that's the biggest step, is being ready in here before we start changing our whole outer world. That whole outer world really is a reflection of what's going on in here. So if you decide, I want to start setting better boundaries for myself, you could try to, set these affirmations of like, I'm going to have better boundaries. I'm going to have better boundaries. But if you don't feel it in here, then people are going to continue to walk over your boundaries. You're going to continue to, stomp all over your own boundaries or the boundaries of others, but once it's in here, then it's like, there's no questions. There's no need to try. You're just going to do it because you're ready. So I feel like we're ready as a collective. We're all ready for whatever it is that you guys have going on in your individual lives, those things that you've been putting off and maybe trying and then saying, well, it didn't work in the past, or it didn't work the last 17 times I tried. Okay, well, maybe you just weren't ready those last 17 times, but it seems like now you're ready. But with this Seven of Swords popping in, I do feel this like just being present and grounded with this week and moving forward, because our mind, our ego, is going to want to play tricks on us. It might, we might feel like this, like readiness, like, woohoo, I'm ready. And then it might trick you into believing, oh, you know what? Yeah, but you're already doing, what you wanted to do. When really it's just trying to keep you in its comfort zone. So it's not trying to sabotage you in a malicious way. It's trying to sabotage you in what it thinks is the most beneficial way, because it doesn't know what lies beyond in the new beginnings, in the newness. It's never been there before. It's never boldly gone there before, so it's a little scared of the unknown. So it's going to try to keep you where you are. It's going to try to keep you in its comfort zone. It's going to try to tell you, you know what, maybe you're just not ready, or you know what, this just isn't for you, or you know what, it's okay. We didn't need boundaries anyway. And it really is just scared. So instead of trying to ignore it, which will just make it louder, try to understand where it's coming from. When you understand where it's coming from, then of course we can heal it, we can rewrite it, whatever you need to do to truly understand what the ego's intentions are. Once it feels like it's listened to, it may not be as loud, and it'll be easier for you to move forward in that heart space. So big stuff this week. A. So if you guys want to send me a DM on Instagram at Kittens, Weights, and Tarot, and just like let me know throughout this week, like, hey, I got this going on. Or maybe you want to send me an email, tara@kittensweightsandtarot.com, which all of those links are down below, by the way. Keep me up to date, have a chit chat. I like hearing from you guys. A lot of people just kind of email me out of the blue, or they send me a message on Instagram, and I like hearing from you guys. I like hearing about your journey because we're all in this journey together. So yeah, if something comes up this week, or you're like, okay, I'm really feeling like the pull for this, or you know what, my ego's been trying to trick me, and whatever, let's share that journey. So hey, I'm all ears, always am. Okay, let's see, let's go back here, and then we'll look at Shadowlands' question, by the way. Oh, Bastet says, I'm Shadowlands. Well, hey. And Lilith Phoenix said, this change of username is confusing. And Silver Star says, I bought a tapestry with the saying Memento Mori, Latin for remember that you have to die. Remember death. Yes, Memento Mori. I do love that Latin saying, by the way. It says it has a big raven on it. Oh, that is super cool. So Shadowlands says, if I'm not doing super chat, then her name shows as Bestet674, but when she is doing super chats, it shows as Shadowlands. Ah, I gotcha. Interesting. Okay. Well, Shadowlands, we will pull a card for you, and then we're going to dive into our channeling of Edgar Allan Poe. I'm super excited. That's like, I hope I don't fangirl while I'm channeling. I don't know how that would go. But yeah, anyway, let's see. Lilith says, Vader is keeping watch. He sure is. There he is. Making sure we're all safe. We're all good to go. Lilith says, ooh, horses in the background. Fun. Yes, we have the Peterson stables nearby, so we often see all the horse rides going by. I like seeing the horsies. I like hearing all the horsies. We're surrounded by horsies. Angel Gaia Heart says, blessings and hello, everyone. Hugs. Love to you. Hope you all are doing well. Poetic hugs to you all today. Amen. Amen, my sister. And she says, how is everyone? Well, I am doing fantabulous. It says it's mental gymnastics time. Oh boy, we better stretch, right? Silver Star says, hello, beautiful, to Angel Gaia Heart. And she said, I do have to go, unfortunately, but I'm so grateful I could pop in at least. Have a wonderful one. Definitely have to rewatch later. Take care, y'all. Mwah, my soul sister, you have a beautiful rest of your day at work. Have fun. All right. So let me go ahead and pull a card for our friend Shadowlands. Maybe I'll use the Relative Tarot, actually. And then we'll get into our channeling. So start thinking about right now, if you are interested in being the guest interviewer for Mr. Edgar Allan Poe. And remember, you do not need to show your video. If you don't want to, it could just be the audio, then that's fine. Let me know now. Let us know in the comments, and then Riley will post the link for you to hop on. So yay, I'm excited for this. Okay, Shadowland says, I keep on seeing mushroom silhouettes. I also keep getting merfolk and turtles. What would your interpretation be? Ah, okay. Well, first let's look into this mushrooms. Okay, mushrooms, merfolk, and turtles. Mushrooms, merfolk, and turtles. Let's tap in. I see that Seven of Swords popping in for you. I mean, I will pull a card for you, but what I'm seeing, with like the mushrooms are like our element, although other people might interpret some other elements to us. We feel like our element is generally water. we are a water element. We're very connected to the emotions, to the intuition, to opening up that pineal gland, to like just the information of the infinite universe. We feel that very watery, flowy energy. And they said that's what we do. Like we pop up where it's fertile, and then we go back down into the soil. We pop up somewhere else where it's fertile. Like we follow the water. And the merfolk as well. They said, we're not a land folk. We go where the current takes us. We go where we are needed most. So again, we are connected to the emotions. We are connected to that intuition, that inner knowing, the following. Turtles as well. If you think about the Great Barrier Reef, and the turtles, the sea turtles that flow along that reef, and anybody who's watched Finding Nemo, they know that some of the turtles they like to flow along the Great Barrier Reef, along the highway there, the beautiful current that they have going on there. And so the turtles also following this current. And also, even though turtles are also connected to land, we think of like desert turtles and tortoises. For the most part, people attribute them with water. So it's a lot of this watery energy, all three of them, all of these different beings. And they say it's different types of water energy, where the turtles are reminding you to take it slow. That you might get super excited, all this intuition, all this information coming in, but also with that Seven of Swords, the ego energy is coming in, and when it feels like it's inundated, like you're getting way too many downloads for its comfort zone, it might start trying to talk you out of some of those intuitive hits that you get, that you could just explain it away. It was just this, or that's just nonsense, or so then it becomes very clouded, very conflicted when you try to access that intuition, because you're always second guessing yourself, because there is a lot coming in. So the turtle is just reminding you to stop, pause, take it slow. The merfolk is reminding you that where you feel most in tune with your intuition is in your creations. Whether you're dancing to music, or you're whittling those beautiful wands make, or making runes and things like that. It's when you're in that creative process that's when most of your downloads comes in. So the mushroom, who is all about knowledge, they say don't forget to record. So either with a I was going to say tape recorder, but I don't know if anybody uses that anymore. But maybe record on your phone, or handwrite it down, some of the things that are coming to your mind while you're working on your creative projects. And then that way, there isn't a chance yet for the mind to say, oh, well, this was just this, and that was just that, and it starts explaining it away. So that's kind of the message they're coming through, is just continue working on your creative projects, which help to slow you down and help you to tap in. But at the same time, try to journal or somehow record some of the thoughts, feelings that come in. They're not just coming out of nowhere. They're coming to you because you're grounded enough, you're focused enough for that intuition to come in. Okay. So again, let's do our little shuffle. Take a look at your comments in just a moment. Of course, Shadowlands, we have the Empress. Did I say Empress? Empress card. But that is definitely the Empress energy in that beautiful creative mode. The Empress is creating, sometimes she is creating life, sometimes she is creating an idea, sometimes she is, she's in this different forms of creation, but she is the Empress. We could say that she is symbolic of Gaia herself. Also the feminine aspect of God, just this creation energy. So when you're in that creative mode, you slow down, much like any creator would have to do, to allow that intuition to come in and record it. So write it down, write it in a journal, record it on your cell phone, or hey, maybe you still use some cassettes, which I think that's cool. Record on cassette if you have to. But definitely record that. And then that way you can work through analyzing it later, but That way it's just coming through purely without the second guessing, and then it's lost. Let's record it. Let's put it down. Okay, so thank you so much, Shadowlands. We will do more super chats and super stickers after our channeling today. So let's see. Riley has posted that if you would like to be a guest interviewer for Edgar Allan Poe, please email Edgar at offairport.com. And that is on the screen for you guys. That way he will get that email and he can send you that link to join today's chat. Let's go back here. Angel Gaia Heart says, hey, Silver Star OMG, I'm so happy to see you. How are you? Blessings. I'm Angela Prayer Poems, and that she did a name change. A lot of name changes in the house. Lilith says, have a good day at work, Priestess. Angela says, Bastet, love your name. Hail the cat goddess. Lullaby. Lullabitos asks, where is James? He is back home with his family in California. And I know that he's working on some projects of his own now. So I know that you could still find him on the interwebs, but he and I had separated. So I am still working on my stuff up here, and he is back in California working on his things as well. Let's see. Hoon the Wanderer says, it's a beautiful sunny day. Hello, Vader. Your mama says hello. Riley says, oh yeah, he was asking if anybody wanted to be a guest interviewer. And Angel Guy Heart says, virtual hugs to everyone who needs one today, by the way. Don't forget, you all are beautiful souls and you matter. And our buddy John is also here. Hey, he says, hey all. Angel Guyheart says, we need to embrace Selkie vibes, comfy on land and in the water, balance. And John says, I'm living on Turtle Island. Are you serious? That's super cool. Bestet says, seems like I need a junk journal. Hey, I mean, you could also create your own junk journal too. I've done that before where like I cut out my own pieces of paper and I put them in this like cool old binder. That's a lot of fun. Riley says, anyone, we need a volunteer to ask questions. All you need to do is read the questions on the screen and your own questions if you have any. You do not need to show your image if you do not want to. And Lilith says, if no one else comes forth, I can guide Tara on her channeling. Thank you. Thank you. That would be really helpful. Lilith says, thank you, Lilith. If no one responds, you're up. And she said, aye, aye, Captain. Lila Abidos. Oh, hey, wow. Thank you. Thank you. Well, while Lilith is getting all set up for our channeling, I could definitely pull a card for you while we wait. We will do super chats and super stickers after the channeling as well. But hey, thank you so much. Let me know what your question is or what area you'd like me to look into. I'd be more than happy. And I'll use my relative tarot here. And Lilith says, do you still need me to email you? She said, I'm in Europe. So I suppose so. Oh, well, there we go. Riley posted the link there. So Lilith, you can go ahead and click on that link. And John says, all of us in North America, right? Oh, and then Lilith said that she is in Europe. Yeah. Do we have any homies in the Southern Hemisphere or in other parts of the Northern Hemisphere? Definitely let us know. Where does everybody hail from today? Where do you hail from? Oh, you know what I forgot? Oh, well, I'll get that another time. I'll drink some water later. But yeah, Lila Abiros, let me know what your question is. And then, yeah, let us know where you guys are all from. John says, no, I mean, North America is Turtle Island. Yes, yes, yes. Sorry. I feel so dopey. Yes, now I know what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I was thinking of something else, which isn't called Turtle Island, but I thought it was. Never mind. I got confused. So sorry. But yeah, so anybody else in Turtle Islands, which is North America, but anybody else from around these here earthly parts? Lila Abito says, love and blessings from Florida. Hey, hey. And Costalini says, ooh, that's the native tail, right? Um, that all of North America was built on a turtle tail. Yes, there's a whole kind of type of story that goes along with it, and kind of depending on the tribe, I guess, that you would speak to, it might be a little bit different, or maybe even the animal might change a little bit, but the stories are somewhat similar. And it kind of goes along with the whole was it Pangea thing of like, all being one and then slowly separating, everybody kind of like separated to different parts of the world. But yeah, yeah, it's a fun story if you guys want to look into it. And it doesn't matter like what tribal story you look at, they're all very similar. But the more you look into, the more perspective you get, and I think it's wonderful. John says, I've been in space all day. I totally understand. Yes, yes, my friend. And Bestet says, you confused yourself. I'm in Springfield, Illinois. Ah, wow, Illinois, yes. And see, Lila Abito says, is it Way? W-H-E? And Riley said, Lilith is here and ready when you are. Let me know when you want her to bring me out. Oh, okay. And Lila Abito says, my question is our connection. Can you see anything? Our connection. Can you see it? Oh, yeah. So let me pull a quick card for our friend Lila Abitos, and then we will put Lilith on and we'll go ahead and dive into that channeling. So while you guys are waiting, everybody else who's in the chat, start thinking about the questions you would have for Edgar Allan Poe. Like, could be questions about his writing, could be questions about his life. Yeah, just anything. Okay, so let's check in. Lila Biros. Okay, I'm hearing that Swallow song by Bush, going way back into the late 90s here, early 2000s. Swallowed, hollow, do 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 do. Do. Okay, so let's see what that song has to do with the card that we pull. Let's see here. Looking into your connection. Oh, hello, sir. Watch out, Mr. Vader. Oh, thank you. He's like, I brought you a toy. Lila, he brought you a toy. Okay. So Lila, we have the 7 of Cups. Oh. Okay. Okay. Whoa. Okay. Our connection is, yeah. Okay. So this is just something that's jumping out for you right now. This is like going back to when you were a teenager, like really young teens, going into young adulthood. There's a point in everybody's life, and sometimes it's different depending on the age, where we feel like I can do anything. Like the whole world is my oyster, and we might decide I'm going to grow up and be like Indiana Jones, or I'm going to grow up, I'm going to be a doctor, or I grow up, I'm going to be a cowgirl, or I'm going to grow up and I'm and it's like all of those things are possible. They don't seem silly, to us at the time, whatever age we are, where we're like, I could be all those things if I want to. I could be anything I want to. I could be an astronaut if I want to. And then there's a certain point where we get conditioned or told, not out of any sort of maliciousness, but more just the programming of other people, that's silly. You can't be Indiana Jones. There is no such thing as an adventure-seeking archaeologist, or that's silly. Do you know how much schooling you would have to do and everything to be an astronaut? Like, that's just silly, or it's just silly. You don't do well in chemistry and biology. What makes you think that you're going to be a doctor? And so all of those things that we thought would be really cool to try one day, we kind of just like put it aside and decided it was silly. It's silliness. It's nonsense. I would say for me, my parents told me that being an artist was a silly thing. Artists don't make money. That's not a living. Nobody makes a living being an artist, unless you're really good. And they would say, sweetheart, you're really not that good. Like, we're not trying to hurt your feelings, but you're just not that good. So, you can't be an artist. You can't be a singer. You can't be a movie star. You can't, do these things. Do something more, that's more logical. So I did take a more logical route. Not that I didn't like teaching, but there were other things that I enjoyed much more, and I put them to the side. So it feels like some of those things that you kind of put off, Alila, to the back burner, and you decided that's just silly, it's coming back around now. And so it's time to start thinking about, well, if it weren't silly, what would you want to be? What would you want to do? Who would you want to be? What kind of person would you want to be? Maybe it's not so much a job title, but it's a type of energy that you would like to embody. It's time to start looking at that again and realize that your soul was talking to you when your soul said, hey, you can go be an astronaut. Hey, you could be a doctor. Hey, you could be Indiana Jones. Hey, you could go be, a Sasquatch hunter. Like, it may not have been that particular thing it was trying to talk about, but there is a message within that. There's something within that. And so that's maybe where you might want to take a part of your journey right now, is to take a look into what you thought was too silly to do or too silly to be. And start looking into, what do you think that represents? What does Indiana Jones represent? What does being an astronaut truly represent? What's it symbolic of? And maybe that's the energy you're trying to get into, not necessarily to be an astronaut and work for NASA, but it was maybe that I wanted a sense of exploration. I wanted to be an adventurer. And so that's why I wanted to be, some of those things. And it's time to start looking into it now, because that energy is here and waiting for you again. No door is permanently closed. The door is open for you again. If you truly wanted to be one of those things, it's not silly anymore. Look at it. It's time to look at all of them. Write it all down and start meditating on it. And see what you could do now, maybe even this week, maybe tomorrow, maybe tonight, to start taking steps towards the thing you always wanted to be. And really, it was an energy that your soul wanted to help you get into. So I hope that makes sense for you. All right. Let's go ahead and bring our friend Lilith on and get started with this Edgar Allan Poe channeling. I'm super excited. Hold on. I'm just moving my little skeleton hand off to the side. Let's see. Bastet has a question. John has his question for Mr. Edgar Allan Poe. Costolini, if you don't mind, I will pull your super chat card right after our channeling, but you'll be first. You'll be first in line. Costolini will be first. Costolini says, like, vines on my walls feels like 333, but I don't see anything. And I so wanted to clarify if I'm actually starting to see the threes or if it's just a feeling. And P.S., before we get started, I have a friend that was like telling me she was freaking out because she was seeing threes everywhere. She literally told me that today. So take that as you will. All right. So John is posting his questions. Costolini said, sure, no problem. All right. And Riley says, ask your questions in the chat with Lilith, and Lilith will read them to moi. Please use all caps, prepended with Q for question. All right. Okie dokie. All right, so let's go ahead and pull Lilith in.
Hello,
That's
everybody.
not. I want the raven. Where's the raven?
Can y'all hear me?
Page 72. Woohoo! All right. Let's see. Oh, Lilith, I'm gonna have to take my microphone off so I can hear you. I forgot about that. Hold on.
I hope everyone else can hear me loud and clear.
Oh, they can hear you. Okay, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay, great. I'm like,
right,
am I talking to myself?
You're
Hi,
like,
everybody.
hello, Bueller. Okay. Ooh. I think that after the channeling, I want to read the Raven to everyone. I think that would be a lot of fun. And then we'll do our super chat, super stickers. Costalini, of course, is first, so I don't forget. But let me bookmark this because I think we're gonna do the Raven, y'all. All right, so some wonderful questions coming in. John says, yeah, all ears here. Woohoo! I'm so excited. Okay, so we have our little Raven candle. We have my little skull hand, or my skeleton hand, holding Mr. Edgar Allan Poe here. All right. Okay, so Lilith, can you still hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes. Okay, so just a kind of quick walk through, because I will section out this part of our live chat and I'll make it a separate video so people can, watch this channeling on my channel. So I'll do a bit of editing, but I will go ahead and I'll just drop in. So I'll start being quiet and I'll, just start trying to connect. And while I'm doing that, once you start seeing that, then go ahead and introduce yourself. I'm Lilith Phoenix. And if you want to throw out any social media handles or anything that you're working on or anything, that you're curious about, you can mention that. And that just kind of gives me time for not only people to get to know you, but for me to connect to the energy, of Edgar Allan Poe. And then also, if you want to introduce the topic, you could say, today we're talking about Edgar Allan Poe. Anything you know about him, you can, talk about him a little bit in the intro. And then when I'm ready, I'll say, okay. And then you can go ahead and start talking to him just like he's really here. So you could just start asking him questions. You can ask him like what dimension he's in, or maybe what aspect we're speaking to of Edgar Allan Poe, just so we're clarified on who's giving these answers. And then I would say, if you have like a watch or a timer or a good sense of time, we'll try to keep it to like 15 minutes, like the actual.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right.
And then Riley's going to post people's questions on the screen here, so that way you can read their questions. But if you have questions of your own, by all means, like, ask yours too.
It's a little bit like fanception, I suppose, because I'm fangirling over you, you be fangirl over Edgar Allan Poe, but I don't actually know him that well, so it's gonna be very interesting.
We're like having a triangle of fangirling.
Absolutely. I'm also really counting on your energy to ground me, because for some reason I get super excited when, I'm just like listening to you. I'm really trying to like breathe.
Well, hopefully once I drop in, I'm usually a lot more calm because my ego goes and takes a little nap now. So hopefully it'll help ground you too.
Yeah.
I would say
sounds like a plan. Yeah, let's do this.
Okay. Well, when we're close to the end of the 15 minutes, I would say let him have the last word. So just maybe ask him, is there anything else you want us to know before we close out this session? Or,
okay, I'm gonna try my best, guys. This is something new, so I'll do my best.
Oh, no worries, no worries. I think you are going to be perfect. I think you're going to do a wonderful job. So yeah, just kind of roll with it. Like with our friend Shadowlands was talking about the mushrooms and the merfolk and the turtles, that we just take it slow. We'll just go with the flow. Just kind of reading through the questions will probably help to ground you too. And then at the very end, just casually, all right, well, thank you, Mr. Edgar Allan Poe. Is there anything else you would like to tell us? And then
Okay.
he'll say whatever he needs to say, or maybe he won't say anything at all. Maybe he'll say, nope, I'm all done. um, and then that is my cue. Usually the reason I do that is because it is the cue for the entity to go home now and for me to come back.
All right.
um,
Yeah.
and then we'll have a little chit chat. And then, oh, at the end, I'll say thank you everybody for watching and I'll say goodbye, but we're not going goodbye. That's just so I can cut it in editing for like the end of the video. So don't think I'm like, all right, bye, Lilith. I'm not trying to like kick you
Bye.
off. It's just for the end of the
No,
video.
yeah, no, I get it. I totally understand.
Okay. Let me have some water and then
All
let's
right.
do this.
Yeah.
I'm so freaking excited. I need to calm
Me
down.
too. Your energy is making me very giddy.
Okay, then I need to calm down. Okay. Okay, hold on. 1,
I'm
2,
feeling it too.
3. All right, I'm going to go ahead and drop in. You can go ahead and get started. I'll see you on the other side.
Hello, everybody. We're here today to channel Edgar Allan Poe. I don't really know that much about Edgar Allan Poe. I feel very naive, but I do know he writes and he's done a lot of poetry that's been quite famous all over the world. And I'm excited to channel him and see what kind of inspirations that he had throughout his life to take up such an endeavor that made a really big ripple effect all over the world. And for anyone in the chat, I'd like to know when you've gotten acquainted with his work and what it meant to you throughout your life.
Okay.
Hello, who are we speaking with?
Edgar.
And in what dimension do you reside?
Fourth.
Which polarity?
Neutrality.
I've got some questions from people who are witnessing this channeling. How did you disappear, man?
Clarification. Disappear in terms of my works? Or do you mean my human aspects? Do you mean my creativity?
Perhaps let's cover them all.
Well, I would say that my works have not disappeared. I'm happy to report that at least a part of me lives in the immortal form of the third dimension. And perhaps that's how we live in immortality and in eternity, in a place that does not embrace the eternal. But of course, as it stands now, or difficult for me to stand, is I do not have legs. But it is all eternity, outside of the third dimension. But if one wishes to be immortal within the earthly plane, then you create something for people to ponder, something that might make them uncomfortable. Because rarely do we remember the people or the things that put us at ease, but we do remember the things that make us uncomfortable. And so I wrote down the things that made me uncomfortable. They're uncomfortable to write, uncomfortable to publish, but I knew that is what I needed to do. In terms of my human aspect, of course, there was a funeral. There is a body. I was flesh and bone. But if you're asking in my passing, I had an affinity for, sometimes they said the sauce. Sometimes it was other powders and elixirs mixed in with that sauce. Oftentimes, my own mind was the demon on my shoulder. And one way to quiet that mind, if I could not quiet it through writing, was quieting it through the powders, the elixir, my sauce, my tonic.
How did you begin the endeavor to start writing, and what was your biggest inspiration?
I would say that nobody told me to start writing. Really, there was so much going on inside of my head. From the moment I was able to form my thoughts into words, I knew that words were not enough. What I could speak was not enough. There was still more going on inside my head, what I could feel and what I could see that people didn't want to see, people didn't want to look at. So I began to write it down. And mind you, it was not elaborate at first, it was not scholarly at first. Perhaps it was just what I ate that day. But I liked being able to see my thoughts taking form. It was perhaps quite like a sculptor or a painter taking what is inside of you and putting it on the outside of yourself, that you can marvel at your own being right there in front of you. And so it was marveling at what was inside of myself being written on the outside of myself. My words, eternal, that I could go back almost as if in time and read what I had written the week before, the month before, the year before. And it was like talking to a younger version of myself, how I thought then, how I felt then. And it was like I could talk to him. For me, this is a world of timelessness where time stands still is within the writing. And although that there were many writers that piqued my interest, writers that were more nature-based, writers that delved more into what many might consider today to be Gothic, but I liked being able to read the immortality of these writers. And many of the writers that I adored no longer existed on that earthly plane. I wanted to be able to talk to them, to read and have them speak to me beyond the grave. And to me, that is immortality. That is where time stands still. And so I would write. And that is where my life stood still. I became immortal in my own words. I could speak to myself. I could write to myself. And so the impetus, I suppose, was, how do I stop time? How do I keep things from dying? Well, you write it down. It lives forever.
Now looking back upon your earthly life, do you think that maybe there had been an element of automatic writing from spirit?
Very much so. In fact, this is something I did practice as spiritualism was taking hold around my lifetime, and the occult, the darkness, the wanting something beyond what the religions at the time could show us. We knew that there was something more that perhaps the Bibles of each of these religions would not tell us. And perhaps it was kept out because they felt it might frighten the people and frighten their faith. But I was a faith-based man, but I wanted to know more. I wanted to go what was between the lines, what was in the darkness. And I began to wonder if I could speak through my thoughts, take my thoughts, which in essence were spirit, and I could put them on paper. This is how spirit takes form. Then couldn't another spirit put my writing onto paper, use my hand to create something? And yes, I tried this. I tried it in many forms. I tried it sober, one might say, sometimes with my tonics, sometimes with my elixirs and powders. I tried it in many different ways. I tried it with the help of others. Sometimes I tried it on my own. But there are a few of my works that I would say were written automatically. Before I could even think of the next word, it was there. And the word after that, it was there.
Somebody is asking how you would be helping someone in the midst of a depression, Mr. Poe.
First of all, I'm not a doctor in these matters. And maybe I should have consulted help from time to time, as I found myself in quite a depression at times. And what helped me with some of my darkest thoughts, it was not dark thoughts in terms of wanting to harm myself, but thoughts in that perhaps I wish I never existed. I just wanted the hand of God to take me from this existence. And so I would write it down. Sometimes I would write it down in a way, the most morbid or torturous death of the character I was writing about. And sometimes that made me feel better. Now, I'm not saying that this is a prescription for someone who is dealing with depression. But for me, it helped me to place that portion of myself onto paper. That little voice in my head that spoke unkind words to me, I decided to form him into a character. This little character, you on my shoulder, telling me that I'm no good, that I'll never amount to anything, that I am exactly what those people in my past had told me that I am. Let's make you a character. And I would make them a vile character in my stories and in my poems. And sometimes I was the one who dies within the poem, within the story, perhaps a torturous death. And once it was down and it was out of me, I would realize it was just a story. It was just something that needed to come out of me, and it would be gone for the time being. And anytime it showed up again, I would write about it. And that was my way of dealing with depression. But perhaps you are not a writer. Perhaps you are not an artist. And so in some way, you need to get that voice out of yourself, meaning speaking to someone or writing about it and then showing people those writings. Perhaps that might be helpful. But again, I am no medical doctor.
We got another question. You're known for being incredibly muscular. Was that from living a hard life and being a laborer, or did you work your physique side from that?
Well, I can tell you that I did not marvel at my own form within the mirror, but most of it was due to my laboring, the things that I did for a living. There was not what you have in your world today, leisure, the leisure to work on one's physical form, the wanting yourself to look a particular way. Well, we did it with clothing. We did it with tonics if you wanted to look a particular way. But as far as lifting heavy things for no purpose other than lifting the heavy thing, we did not really do this, or if they did, I was not privy to it. So whatever physique you say I had was merely because of the occupations I held.
I would like to know what crows meant to you.
Mystery, the often unwanted bird, the raven, the crow. Nobody wants to hear them. Their sound is not that of music. Think of all the birds that gather in the garden with this song and that song. and then the caw, the grating caw of the raven and the crow saying, I'm here in all my darkness, my black feathers, my bigness. I am here, hear me caw. And they care not that their song is not as beautiful as all the other birds, but also that they are smart and people shun them. But I would say they are the wisest of all birds, more wise than any human that I knew. And yet that is the bird that is shunned. So perhaps it was people's mystery, the mystery of the real, the soul within an individual, when they are their authentic self, when they care not what you think of them, when they are truly standing in their magic, truly in their beautiful intelligence. Those are the ones shunned from society because they cause you to reflect on yourself. And so I love the raven and I love the crow. They remind us of what we're scared of, and that is our greatness.
Who inspired you from beyond? Any being, or was it all you?
Some of my inspiration came from my acquaintance with spirits. I did see spirits. I did feel spirit. And I found it quite interesting that someone could pass, people mourn, the body decays, and yet I see them standing right before me. What does this mean? So I began to question my own immortality, and it did aid me in my writings. You see, my fascination with time, having time stand still, immortality, and also a mixture of my own religion. And this influenced my writing greatly.
I'm afraid we've reached our limit of time. Um, it was very lovely to meet your acquaintance, Mr. Poe. Very poetic words, and really, really loved hearing all about your life here on Earth. I would like to ask you if you have any parting words for us before gently nudging Taurus consciousness back to.
Yes. Oftentimes, when I hear people speak of me, it is in conjunction with your darker half of the year, sometimes in conjunction with All Hallows Eve. And why is that? That I'm only remembered at times of spooky tales and ghost stories. My life was not a single day of the year. I did not write for Halloween. I did not write for spooky tales. I wrote about the darkness of the human psyche. I wrote about what we fear, the loss of time, the loss of ourselves, the loss of our mind, loss, fear. These are the things that make us uncomfortable. So I encourage you to look into my works in the daytime, in the brighter half of the year, at any time really, because they make you uncomfortable. I want you to be uncomfortable. When you are comfortable, you will never grow, and I want you to grow. So at any moment, make yourself uncomfortable, whether you read something of mine, whether you think upon me, or you watch the raven or the crow, or you try something new in your life. Remember that uncomfortable is good. Uncomfortable is immortality. Ugh. Whew. My goodness.
Welcome back.
Hey. Hold on, let me have some water. Oh my gosh, what did you think?
It's absolutely mesmerizing, the mind of such a brilliant writer, and I think he gained a fan.
Yeah, for me, I don't know, his energy felt chaotic, almost like my thoughts were everywhere all at once, and it was like so hard for me to just like form things into words. Like he wanted to go in a million directions answering the questions. I don't remember what the questions were, but it was like whatever they were, he had a million things to say about them, and he wanted to go on forever, and it was like his mind was just like just going, and then it was like almost thinking like I should write that down. I should write that down. Like, ooh, that would be an interesting story. You know, even though he's in the fourth dimension and he's passed on, it's like his mind still thinks, at least that aspect of him still thinks like a writer. Like, that would be a wonderful poem. That would be wonderful. Ooh, we could really like dive into something. Like, he loves that uncomfortable feeling. It felt like he loved, I don't know, he liked making himself uncomfortable. I don't think his intention was to like freak people out. I think he tried to freak himself out because I think that's how he helped himself to grow, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's very recognizable, the chaotic thinking. So yeah, I really like to speak with him. It's very nice.
Yeah, I appreciate this. And I thank everybody who had voted for this channeling. I will say that Edgar Allan Poe is one of my favorite writers. I have quite a few favorite writers, but like he's, whoa, hello, Mr. B. Maybe that was Mr. Edgar. um, but yeah,
I saw
I would
him
say,
earlier, by the way. The bee showed up on
oh,
screen while you were channeling.
you know, it could be spirit coming in being like, what are you talking about? What'd you say about me?
Quite
I'm
possible.
saying all good things, I swear.
Yeah. No, I also emailed you with the same like idea of doing Edgar Allan Poe, and I don't really know the guy, but I thought it was like Halloweenish, and why not?
Hmm. Yeah, and if I remember a little bit at the end when he was talking about, I think he was asking why people just they want to look into his stuff, but only like around Halloween time, where he thinks like any time is a good time for growth, not just like one day out of the year. Um, but it kind of felt like he also enjoyed, like he enjoys, even if it's just Halloween when people are reading, like any way that people may grow, whether like it's from his stories, and if it's just on Halloween, and understanding that Halloween is a time for growth too, because people want to get spooky, they decorate their houses spooky, and he sees that now. I don't really feel like that was like a huge thing, you know, decorating and putting all the stuff in your front yard. Not really a big deal during his time, but it's like, if that's what it takes, if it takes a spooky day for people to actually acknowledge the darkness within themselves, or the things that we don't want to look at, or the things that make us scared or uncomfortable, if that's the way that we, our permission slip, so to speak, to face our fears, then okay, then that's how you're going to do it. And if you're using my stories to help you face your fears, then that's cool too. So it, to him, growth is like his thing. Like, grow any
Yeah.
way you can, but it's got to
Yeah,
be on
that, and of course it's also like the time of year where the nights are longer, so
Mhm.
um I don't, yeah, and there was like also this element of like more immortality for him, which
Mhm.
really stood out to me. So I mean, if it's only on Halloween, it's pretty good credit.
Well, I'll definitely have to rewatch this when I edit it, because I really liked, I enjoyed his energy. And I enjoyed kind of having a glimpse into the mind of one of my favorite authors, just how he thought, how he felt. Like it was just all over the place. And I find myself at times, I'm like that, not to say I'm like some great writer, but like I feel like I can relate to that energy that's like all over the place. You don't know where to
Yeah,
put it, but
same.
he honestly knew where.
Yeah, I'm like thinking, should I be a writer? Like, it's like really inspiring.
Well, all right. Well, thank you so much, Lilith, for helping out with this channeling. And
Absolutely.
thank you to everybody who, during our live chat was able to offer up those questions for Lilith to read. And thank you, Lilith, if you had questions of your own, and for volunteering to do this. I know that it gets people out of their comfort zone, and that's what Edgar Allan Poe is all about. So thank you so much. And if anybody in the future would like to do what Lilith did and what other of our other friends have done, which is to be a guest interviewer and either read questions during a live chat or coming up with your own questions, then just email me, tara@kittenswaitsandtarot.com. I appreciate everyone who's been a guest interviewer. I appreciate everybody who's gotten a one-on-one channeling with me. Thank you so very much. And we will catch you, spiritual homies, next time. Thank you again, Lilith. And thank you to everybody else. Peace, love, and chicken grease. Bye. Okay, we're back. So thank you so much, Lilith. Was it as nerve-wracking as you thought?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially the first time if you've never spoken to someone, it's like, and I know your energy gets me giddy because I'm here every week, like listening to you, and I just get so inspired by you. Um, you've noticed I emailed you, you heard it. So I knew it was gonna be nerve-wracking to do this for the first time, but once you step in, like 1 foot in, I think next time maybe you will be smoother.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you came on and we're able to talk. I was kind of secretly hoping that you would be the guest interviewer because I did get the idea from you. So to put that into the poll, and it looked like a lot of people had that same idea as you did, channeling more spooky type authors or people. So
I mean, I kind of was like, okay, I'll do it if no one else wants to do it because I feel like I have no affiliation with Edgar Allan Poe whatsoever. So I felt like if someone else is like more like driven to do it, then I would like to give them the chance to. But no one else can afford it, so here we are, and it was such a delight.
well, thank you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. And actually, yeah, really, everybody in the chat, thank you for all the questions. Like I said, I have to go back and rewatch it and hear what your questions were. But I'm sure you guys had some fabulous questions, and of course, I could always scroll through and see what
Yeah,
they
and I
were.
would like to apologize, like, if I missed out on any questions because I feel like there was a flow to the conversation that I kind of wanted to hook into sometimes that
Mhm.
I wasn't really reading the questions, but then other, like, I feel like questions were being asked after that had already been covered, so it was kind of
Mhm.
like, yeah, an interesting experience.
Well, thank you. I know you did the best you can, and thank you for everybody else for doing the best they could. So thank you. And
Thank you, everyone.
John is saying that you did a great job, by the
Oh,
way, and
thank you so
everybody's
much.
giving you kudos. Um, he says maybe we can come back to him in the spring or summer. That would be a good idea, a non spooky part of the year, and see if we can maybe look at things differently. We might have a different perspective of like a quote unquote dark tale or spooky story, but in the lighter half of the year, it might
It'll be
hit
very
different.
interesting for sure.
hmm like if it's like, the middle of July and then we're like, you know what, let's do, I don't know, the Cask of Amontillado, so I mean, that could be cool. But so thank you again, Lilith. You're more than welcome to stay on if you'd like, or if you just want to pop back into the chat. That's up to you. I mean, I'm cool either way. um,
I think I will excuse myself and go back to the chat because I have absolutely no ability to take part in it, and I will send you a donation and ask questions for a channeling because I
okay,
have questions. I always have questions.
okay. Well, I mean, I
Yeah.
think you did a fabulous job, and I think you're doing fine. So, but yeah,
Well,
if you'd like to, then yeah, you can. And then oh, I know that I was going to do some of the super chats and super stickers too, so I'll do those. But I wanted to read the Raven first, so I'll do that, and then we'll do super chats, super stickers, all that good stuff.
All right, I appreciate you.
All right, thank you, thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so let's go back here. So John was saying, thank you, Mr. Poe. Costolini says, like, oh, does the thought ever even occur once? Oh, he was part of one of his questions. He said he's quite the doomer. Good thing Monster Energy and cigarettes didn't exist during his life. I know, right? Oh my goodness. It was like, wow, what a fascinating energy, I will say. And then John was asking preference. Oh, like for the lighter, dark half of the year. Let's come back in spring. Ooh. Let's do this again in spring and see if I don't know, we feel differently about Edgar Allan Poe. That might be really cool. And then Shadowlands, yes, after Costolini, we will pull a card for you, Shadowlands. Riley said, thank you so much, Lilith. We all really appreciate it. And she said, thank you guys. Okay, so in honor of our friend, Mr. Edgar Allan Poe, that we did a channeling on, I would like to read the Raven, and then we will pull a card for our friends. Do some super chats and super stickers, starting with Costolini and then with Shadowlands. All right. So, okay, let me have a sip of water. And I don't know if I should be reading this in like my mysterious voice, but we'll see. Also, I don't know. That's not Scylla. Never mind. Okay. All right. Are you guys ready? Gather round, my friends. Let us read The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, "tapping at my chamber door, only this and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember it in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my book surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This is it and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened the door, darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wandering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the word whispered, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what in threat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open, here I flung the shutter, when, with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obedience made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he. But when mine of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, nothing more. And this ebony bird beguiling with my sad fancy into smiling, but the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Thou thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Peludian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little reverency bore, for we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door with such name as nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather, then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by my reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters, is it only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of nevermore. But the raven still beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. Then I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease, reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violent lining with the lamplight gloating o'er, she shall pass, nevermore. Then, methought, the air grew denser, performed from an unseen censer, swung the seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, and nepenthe from the memories of l'amour. Quoth, quoth, this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted. Tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, be the word, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul was sorrow laden, if within the distant Aden it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or friend. I shrieked, upstarting, get thee back into the tempest and the night's Peludian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above the door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadows on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. All right. Yay. I'm so glad I got to read The Raven with you guys. Okay. Let's go ahead and pull some cards then. Oh, Lilith says, sent you a PayPal donation. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. And then we'll get to your question as well. John said, spooky. I know, right? Okay. So we have our friend Costalini, then we have Shadowlands, and then we have Lilith. So now's the time for super chats and super stickers, my friends. And then, like I said, I would like to do something a little bit different for our guided meditation. I would actually like to try to do a hypnosis session with you guys, if you don't mind. Okay, so let me shuffle these up. Costalini, let me look at your question. You said, curious if you could ask my higher self about the seeing numbers thing that you mentioned last week. I don't see any, but objects have started feeling like a series of numbers. Ah, interesting. And then you were talking about the threes and the repeating threes. And then I said that I had a friend of mine who was like, threes have been off the hook for her lately. So, okay. So you said that objects have started feeling like series of numbers. Okay, let's tap in. Okay. At first I was a little lost at what I was seeing, but it was like the paint by numbers, or sometimes even color by numbers, like if I remember, like when I was in elementary school, there might be like coloring books, and like each part of the picture had a number. So like all the ones had to be colored blue and all the twos had to be colored green. And so what your higher self is showing you and how your intuition is interpreting numbers is kind of like the paint by numbers, that basically you don't necessarily have to see a number, but it's more the understanding that everything in creation is kind of a mathematical equation. Wow, I'm starting to rhyme. Maybe Mr. Poe is still in there, but that's kind of what it is. So like, I guess like take the sweater I'm wearing, at first you may look at it and say there's no numbers there, but there is a pattern. Patterns are numbers, and those numbers create form. And sometimes, when people are looking at, let's say, protons and photons and, atoms and things like that, they have a form, but there's also a mathematical equation that can make up that form. There's a series of numbers that make up that form. And sometimes when we see repetition in nature, there's also numbers that are associated with it. So your higher self is saying what you're seeing is basically the repeating patterns in the earthly experience, not just like nature, but this whole third dimension. It's so for you, maybe it's not so much a seeing, because that would be more, I guess, somebody who's like clairvoyant. They're into seeing, where you might be clairsentient. You're more into the feeling, so you feel into the numbers of the world. And so your higher self seems to be really encouraging you to continue this feeling. Like if you were feeling into the bowl of cereal that you were going to eat that day, what would that feel like? Would that feel like a series of jumbled numbers? Would it feel like a series of repeating numbers? Would it have a pattern to it? and not necessarily like trying to figure out what the actual number is, but like, what does it feel to you? When does it feel like numbers are disjointed? If there were numbers associated with it, when does it feel like there's more of a flow? And how does that change the structure? So how does it feel when you look at a circular home as opposed to a rectangular home? How would those numbers feel to you, even if you couldn't see the numbers? So this is getting you to kind of see, like, through your feeling, how you connect with the world around you, like why you like the things you like, why you are connected to the people that you connect with, or the colors that you like. It's because there's a particular pattern or number or equation that your soul is connected to, your soul also being kind of part of numbers, if we were to quantify it in the 3D. Okay, so let's pull a card for you. Knight of Wands. So higher self just reminding you, you are not doing anything wrong. Like, everything is as it should be. So when we said seeing numbers, you took it quite literally. They said seeing, for some people, they see with their ears, they see with their nose, their five senses. So it's the sixth sense utilizing any of the five senses to relay that information to you. For you, instead of using sight, you're using feeling, so touch. And that is the physical sense that your sixth sense is utilizing to help you understand, again, what you like and what you dislike, and why you might like and why you might dislike certain things in this world, in your sphere, in your reality right now. So you might notice, like, well, all my friends are, I don't know, like really tall, like freakishly tall for some reason. I don't know why all my friends are so tall. But then why is that? What sequence is tall? Is there a repeating number that you feel goes with that? Is it a smoother sequence? Is it just jointed, like, numbers all over the place when you think of your tall friends? So just something to think about. And then you might notice that a lot of things that you get along with kind of feel like that same number feeling that I have with my best friends. I feel it in the plants that I have. I feel it in the foods that I eat. I feel it in the colors that I wear, you know? So, hey, that's super cool. uh, let's see. Costalini says, feels like 44, the sweater, that is. That's so cool. Thank you. You are very welcome. By the way, the number 4 is, I don't know why, but that's my favorite number in the whole world. It's been my favorite number since I was a toddler. I can't tell you why I like that number. I just like that number. So everything I did, I was like not happy unless it was in 4s. I have no rhyme or reason. I just know that's just how I've always operated. So, and that's kind of where your higher self is coming from. Like, there's no real rhyme or reason, but it's somewhere, it's in the numbers, and you're just associated, you just connect, kind of with these patterns, with these numbers, either through sight, through hearing, through seeing, or sorry, feeling, tasting, smelling. A number could smell a particular way, I don't know. But we utilize those five senses. So that is freaking cool. Lilith says, I'm remembering a TikTok of someone who could also feel the frequency of objects, and it became funny when she started to organize things by frequency that visually didn't really go together, but made 100% sense to her. That is super cool. Wow. That is cool. I could see that. I could see that. All right. So Costalini, thank you as always. Wonderful question. And then we have our friend Shadowlands. I'm going to be looking into different positions with the current company I work with that will help me slow down at work. All right. So let's take a look at that then. Because I remember last week you were taking a look at, like, if you were like going to continue on in a different position, maybe at the company that you're in, or you're going to look into maybe being a librarian. But let's see what the energy is of just like looking for positions within the company that you're in, to kind of help you slow down so it's not so taxing on you physically. Okay. Okay, Shadowlands, this is really weird, but I was here. hearing the part of is it like is the name of the movie Miracle on 54th Street? I get the name of the street wrong. But anyway, so at the end of the movie, the little girl says, every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. So let's see what that actually means, like why that's popping in right now. Lilith says, feels like I went on a roller coaster ride with Tara. Whee! Okay. Ooh, 5 of Wands. Okay, so your higher self is coming in saying that you could find some different positions at work, but ultimately over time, like within a year or less, it would start to feel that similar sense of draining. That and really what that draining is, like, yes, you might feel it physically, like mentally, physically, like, this feels taxing on me, it feels draining, but it's the soul speaking through your physical body, letting you know that it's time to go. Hence the angel gets its wings. It's time to fly. Um, but you have free will choice, of course. So if you're not ready to make that transition into, something completely different than what you're doing now, your soul understands, universe, God, it understands. So if you do end up taking a different position at work, just know that the position you do take, although it won't be for an extended period of time, all the lessons and all the skills you gain and all the people that you run into and everything that you learn will aid you in that transition. So it's all going to be there for you. So there's really like no bad choice, really, because you're going to gain growth wherever you are. So if you decide, okay, I'm going to take this position at the same company I'm with, and even after a year you're like, oh, I didn't really like it, but by taking that position, whatever position it is, you don't even need to, like, quote unquote, pick the right position. Just if you decide I want that position, then that position will become what's needed to help you transition into something new. So all the people that you meet, all the ups and the downs and the arguments and the things that go smoothly, all of that is going to be for your growth. All of that is to help you. That's all like divine plan, divine timing. But it's all orchestrated by your free will. So just know that you're utilizing your free will to basically advance you in your own earthly education. Then you're going to take that with you to your new job. So if you were to just hop over now, of course, you could probably do it fairly well. But if you feel like you're not ready yet, then you're going to gain all the skills and everything that you need, not just like resume skills, but like the emotional, mental, physical, spiritual skills that you need for that new job. So that's kind of the message that's coming through. I hope it helps you, Shadowlands. Um, thank you. By the way, wonderful question. Oh, it's 34th Street. I thought it was 54th Street. I had to go back like 20 more streets, but John Gross says you did. Okay, going on the roller coaster, that is. Okay, so let's take a look at our friend Lilith, and then we'll have another question from our friend Shadowlands. So Lilith says, I kind of have two questions. I seem to have triggered some folks this week. I mean, Edgar Allan Poe would be like, and I wonder what it is about me that seems to trigger people, and I wish to understand what causes my insomnia. Please and thank you. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so causes of the insomnia, but also like what is it about you that seems to trigger people? Okay, just FYI, I do not feel triggered by you. So maybe it's just particular people, but we'll see. Okay. And maybe the insomnia thing has something to do with the triggering energy. We'll take a look. Okay, so I'm hearing a Fleetwood Mac song. Why does it keep popping up this week? But it's the chain that's playing. But it's towards the end of the song. Hey, let's get together. Do 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 do. Let's get together. Do 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 do. Anyway, so it's showing me just like giving me a form for you. And there is like the ego isn't too far from the soul in its personality aspect. You know, sometimes we feel like our entire personality is wrapped up in our ego, but it's saying that part of that personality is also a reflection of the soul too. Soul aspect that we have also has a personality, even though, yes, there's like this whole, we're just a drop in the ocean, we're a whole part of like the one, but the aspect that we have that's in our vessel right now, that's there's an actual personality to it. And the personality of your soul is just voracious for learning. Like you want to learn everything and you wanted to learn it 5 minutes ago, you know? And so sometimes there's even a frustration about not understanding things as fast as you want to understand them, but that's because the soul is so curious, and that's why it chose to incarnate here on earth. I mean, there was other reasons too, but a lot of it was because it finds the 3D realm so fascinating. Everything is so dense, everything is so heavy, everything is so like slow, and but that's fascinating because your soul goes like 1,000,000 miles a minute. Earth is one way to slow it down because we have such a very like heavy vibration here, you know, which is why we're so tangible, so physical, and we're not like just a bunch of spirits floating around in the 4D realm. You know, we're very 3D. And so it was how to slow your soul down and witness that, to feel it, to be in a form that doesn't move as fast as or faster than the speed of light like everything else moves outside of this realm. But also your ego portion has that type of personality as well, but sometimes it can overtake you where it wants to learn so much now, and it gets frustrated when it doesn't know everything because it doesn't want to be fearful, but at the same time it is fearful of the things it doesn't know. But you know, it's like it's contradicting itself. And so oftentimes that's what's keeping you up at night, is the ego portion, because it's trying to be like the soul. It's fascinated with how your soul operates, but it's trying to do it in a 3D sense. And so it's like it doesn't want to sleep. It's like, I want to know this, and I want to know this, and I want to know this. And for it, it's because the ego fears the unknown, which is why it wants to know everything. The soul has a different point of view. It wants to know everything because it's fascinated by the unknown. It's fascinated by the 3D realm. So it's two different perspectives. And that's why there's a confliction of that, you know, keeping you up at night, that insomnia, is because one aspect is like, I want to know everything because I'm fearful. The other aspect's like, I want to know everything because I'm curious. And I delight in understanding these things. So it's just a conflict of the two. But I feel like the more you go into the ego aspect and try to understand where it's getting its information from, and why, you know, not just from the soul, but like why it acts the way it acts, and, you know, and why it might have some fear, or like, where's that actually coming from? Could be from childhood, could be from a traumatic experience that you had. But if you go in and find it, heal it, you know, kind of release that, then you might feel that the ego is less inclined to want to keep you up at night. But then you also have to have a talk with your soul and remind it that you are in a 3D existence. And in this 3D existence, we experience sleep. And so reminding it to allow you to have that rest time. Okay, so how this ties in with the people that you encounter who are triggered is because they see that in you. And there are some people who are very fearful about knowledge. They're fearful to learn things. And it's not their soul that's scared, it's their ego that's scared. So oftentimes they block out new information, and they will dance around it in whatever crazy narrative they have to create in order to make their truth true for them. You know, so if you say the sky is blue and they're like, no, it's not, it's yellow. They'll do a dance, a jig, to convince you that it's yellow, even though they know that it's not yellow, but it would be very frightening for them to be able to see a different point of view like that. And so, because you just give off the energy without having to say a word, you give off the energy of knowledge. I'm curious. I want to know, even if it frightens me, I want to know this knowledge. Some people aren't ready for that. And so they're triggered by your energy, again, without you having to say a word. It's just energy to energy. The ego recognizes that energy is like, whoa, we can't have this lady in our realm, because if we do, she might make me question my whole existence. She might make me question what I know to be true, and that's scary, because then we go into places of the unknown, and I don't like that. And so their ego just goes, no, 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 no. And that's why you're triggering. Okay, let's go ahead and pull a card. just for clarification. And then, yes, we have Shadowlands Radio next. Okay. Aha, universe. So with that card, I get the whole confirmation of like, yes, this is what Lilith needs to know right now. Like that whole energy that she's in, that you might even like fight against sometimes. Like, I wish my mind didn't run a million miles a minute, and I wish I could just like sit down. That is actually a part of your actual energy, but let's try to use it to your advantage, and also understand where maybe the ego has a part of that, is part of that energy, because it's trying to learn out of fear. So again, just kind of looking into it. And when you do that, I feel like you're going to feel a huge shift, in how you operate. Others might still be triggered by you, but that's kind of your purpose. I mean, that's what Edgar Allan Poe said, right? That it's, if people aren't uncomfortable, then they're not going to grow. And so just by you being you, with even not having to say anything, you are giving people the opportunity to grow. You're not forcing them to grow, because that would violate their free will, but now they have a free will choice. This person that I just encountered showed me an energy that makes me uncomfortable. Do I go into it, or do I run away? And so you're giving them that. So super cool. Thank you for letting me read for you. All right. Let's see. And Lilith says, good Lord, I observe their behavior and I can't help myself but burst out laughing. And John says, in tarot, air and hence the sky is represented by yellow. Yes. He's like, wait a minute. He says, I'd like to know a small nugget that water trine with Uranus, Pluto, and Venus is saying to us. Okay. So we have a question for our friend John. Okay, so Shadowlands, 4 is a foundation number. I'm more clairaudient. Let's take a look into that foundation number for you. I'm that clairaudient. So it sounded like in terms of like sound, like music, it's sometimes in music, when it sounds like everything is like come together, like everything seems in sync. It's not like the guitar versus the drums versus the bass, but it's almost like they sound like one instrument together when they make that beautiful melody. That for you, that's actually kind of like the number 4 in music, when it feels like everything is just in sync, in flow. That's that foundation number that you were talking about. So let's go ahead and pull a card for that. Interesting. Emperor. And what is the Emperor? Questions, takers, anyone? It is the 4th card. It literally says force. So yes, card number 4 is very foundational, structured, but also there is a flow to it. So it's not a rigid type energy. 4, although strong, has ability to move, hence why you might find that pleasing in music or even in people's voices. You might notice that if a voice sounds like it has smooth inflection from its ups and its downs instead of like a really high pitched, like, yelling voice, but then are like a really, like, if there's too much variation in somebody's voice, you might like find that, not that you don't like the person, but you may not enjoy them speaking. And it's because that they don't resonate for you as a number four, in terms of speaking. So that's really interesting. Very interesting. Huh. I really do find that synchronistic that the Emperor card came out. That's pretty cool. Whoa, I went too far here. um, Lilith said, thank you. You are very welcome. And before she was saying wild, so accurate. Okay, so let's go back, and we had our buddy John, and I know that I saw his question here. Okay. He says he'd like to know a small nugget that water, trine with Uranus, Pluto, and Venus, is saying to him. Okay, so we'll take a look into that. Let me see. And then Costolini. Okay, so he had a question after that. So we'll look into what he was saying there too. Okay. All right. So let's see if there's anything on John's spiritual radio. He's always got some good songs playing there. Okay. Uranus, Pluto, and Venus. Kali Ma. Interesting. So I'm getting like this Kali energy, like that she's dancing in the middle of these three planets. And maybe also that her blue skin kind of connecting with that watery energy. But she said, I am the storm, but I'm the sea nonetheless. She said, oftentimes people speak of wanting to calm the sea, to tame the sea, but I am the one that cannot be tamed. And sometimes there are things in life that shouldn't be tamed. Sometimes you need to go into them to find yourself again. She's saying, for sailors at least, and people who live on the water, they love it when the water is calm. But in calm waters, you rarely learn how to survive, how to really test your mettle, test your instinct. She says, but now is the time for the waters to churn, for the sea to rise, and for the universe to see their true self, how powerful they really are, and their true nature. She says that oftentimes what people are most afraid of is that when the opportunity to be great, so to speak, presents itself, that they might find themselves inadequate, that they might find themselves to be small. But she says this has never been the case. She says when the time comes and when the person is ready, they rise to the occasion of their soul. They see finally that the divine is within them. They see an aspect that's been hidden for so long because there's a fear that it was not enough. When really it's the ego that feared it because it knew it was too much. And the ego doesn't know what to do with too much. Where does too much lead to? So again, it's the fear of the unknown. Why do you think people fear the dark water? They don't know what lies beneath it. And so they don't go there. It's your own machinations that make it fearful. It's not that there is something to fear. Okay, so let's pull a card on that, shall we? Oh my goodness. Whew. Ah, Seven of Pentacles. So it kind of feels like she's saying, like, this has been brewing for a long time. She says, but people just haven't noticed. It's not like one day the sea was calm and the next day a storm came and everyone's like, and throws everybody for a loop. She says, no, it's much more subtle than that. She says, and this has been growing with you as well, where it's like, okay, it's a little bit more breezy today. And then the next day it seems like there's a little bit more, but it's been so subtle you hadn't noticed that there's been more waves than usual. There's been more movement than usual in that ocean. And it may seem like when, I don't know, the tsunamis of your intuition of whatever's happening in your life, show itself, then you're like, oh my gosh, tidal wave, but it didn't come out of nowhere. It's been there. It's been slowly growing and growing, but it's like we don't notice it until it's like, whoa, you know, when scaring the bejesus out of your ego. But really, and it's to show, she's saying that you're ready. You're ready for these changes that are coming. The collective is ready for these changes, because we didn't go from calm seas one day to tidal waves the next day. It's been a slow progression, and so that means that we've had all the skills that we've needed to build to help us to ride that wave instead of trying to outrun the wave. So I hope this makes sense, John. Thank you so much. John says 3 and 4 coming together a lot. Even in this conversation, there's 4 comments during this trine. I know it's not a coincidence. Always a big dose. 3 plus 4 equals 7. 7 of Pentacles. And in Mayan numerology, 7 is death. It's death and rebirth. So it's transformation. Hey! Oh my goodness. Okay. Thank you, John, for letting me read for you. That was wow. You guys always make me I'm learning so much right now. Lilith is over there. Giggles, just karmics. Okay, so Costalini says, a question on timing. The original purple flowers died. So the other day I was at Trader Joe's and I saw a purple bouquet that was glowing, like it stood out. I bought it and the next day ran into the girl. She kind of looked at me, adjusted her glasses, and had a choice to walk into me or past a wall. She chose the wall and then ran off. Interesting. So I'm curious if that was one of the timelines and she just chose against that timeline, or if this specific bouquet is still relevant. Wow. Wow. That is so interesting. Says, I know there's a couple of timelines, like 34 are probable ones. I guess I'm curious if this flower bouquet is going to die as well. Okay. So let's take a look at that. And then we also have our friend Shadowlands. John says, I pulled death in an important tarot reading earlier too. Thank you. Wow. Synchronicity, John. And by the way, when I've been pulling my cards for myself for this upcoming week, it was the Ace of Cups, Temperance, Death, and the Devil card. But Death card kept coming up and I was like, what? So that is woo. All righty. And Costalini said, oh, and she was dressed in all purple. Dude, we're in Synchronicity City. Synchronicity? Synchronicity? And Lilith says purple is her fave color. Wow. Okay, so Costalini, let's take a look at this. Okay, interesting. So I am seeing the girl see you, and then it's like I'm gonna slide this way. And for some reason it was showing me pathway 17. And we literally just got finished talking about 7 with John. but 17, 1 and 7 would be 8. So this is like collective consciousness. Let's see if we could dive a little bit deeper. She's not ready. So, okay. See if I can put this into coherent sentences. So your higher self was showing like the original like purple clovers, right? And you originally purchased them because they were in connection with the girl. And so you were creating your timeline through that. So your higher self's like, so what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like, very cheeky response, by the way. But it's like, would you have picked up the purple clovers if you didn't know that they were connected to her? Or would you not have? Would you have? Would they have somehow still found its way into your reality? Or did you create that part of your reality in that present moment that you just had with her through purchasing the purple clovers in the first place, and then having them die, and then deciding that, oh, I need to go to the store, and then finding this purple bouquet that is just glowing, and then having yourself run into her, and then she herself is wearing purple. So your higher self is trying to show you a couple of things. First of all, that we can have these timelines, and we could say that certain people are on these timelines, or this thing that I'm going to do is on these timelines. But also we have an active part in creating those timelines. So if there's something that somebody wants, or some lesson somebody's trying to do, then you can take an action into creating that lesson sooner, or creating that timeline sooner. And so what you did was create a timeline where you two would come into contact with each other. Hence why she was wearing the purple outfit, is to show that you brought in your purple clover. She's the purple clover. And although she may be connected to that, and she might be connected to the purple and to the flowers, she's the purple clover. She's meant to symbolize to you your command of your reality, your growth, your spiritual, just like you've been on a, I don't want to say rampage. That sounds like a more like negative sounding term, but like on a spiritual rampage, like you're just like gobbling up information as fast as you can get it. And you're understanding your own energy like faster than your own ego can keep up, which is excellent. But there are some people that have chosen not to go that route, not to advance in that way. And that doesn't make them any less of a person. It's just their personal path and their personal choice. They're utilizing their free will to decide where their timeline goes. And so for now, in this passing, you were able to see, she had two choices. She could either bump into you, or she could go against the wall. She chose to metaphorically put up a wall between her and her own intuition. You are a representation of her intuition. She is a representation of your personal power and what you are able to create, the magic that you're able to create. And so for now, you could say that those flowers will eventually die. But the lesson that you've just learned is that you created that reality. You created that timeline. You brought it in sooner. You brought her to you sooner so you could get those answers sooner, instead of wondering, like, will this be? Will this be? And you got to see what her choice will be. Will that be her permanent choice? That's up to her. Is your continuation on your spiritual path your permanent choice? Well, that's up to you. This is where all the free will comes into play. But she was meant to show you that you created that magic moment. So yes, it's magical. It doesn't make it any less magical because you had a hand in it, but to show you that that's your magic. That's the divine at play. You are the divine. We're all a piece of it. We're all a piece of this. And she is too. And with her divine energy, she decided, I would like to put up a wall against this for now. I'm not ready yet. And you're saying, I am ready, hence the glowing flowers, crown chakra. I'm ready for this. She said, I am not ready for this. And not to mean relationship, but meaning accessing the intuition, accessing the spiritual knowledge, trying to advance yourself, trying to learn more. She's just not ready at this time. And you are. Okay. So let's go ahead and pull a card. Costalini says, my head just exploded. Like the degree of creation there is insane. Okay. Page of Cups. Literally the creation card, manifestation and creation. Usually there's a little fishy that comes out of it. Yeah, I do think she has a little fishy there, but to show the creation. And you can even say that the fish goes back to even like the Bible stories, you know, Jesus and the fish, creation, you know, spreading the word and also feeding everybody spiritually, but also physically, you know. So wow. Oh my goodness. Let's see, let's go back here. John says, I'm about to drive, so maybe goodbye. Love you all. And Riley said, drive safe, John. Have a good day. Lilith says, okay, John, have a great day. John, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your Sunday. Have a great week, my friend. Sending you lots of love. Lilith says, giggles, the world works in mysterious ways. I know, right? Dude, you guys like blow my little like mindules. Mindules, yes. What would Anchorman say? This is mind bottling. It's like your mind in a bottle. Okay. So thank you. And Shadowlands, we have another question for you. Let's take a look at it. I always come across short kings that want to move the relationship quicker than I do. Why is it that fast lover short kings are drawn to me? Okay. Okay, so people just like, they want to go quick, and you're like, whoa, slow it down. Okay, so let's take a little look into this. Okay, Shadowlands. So this is interesting. It's showing, well, everybody's got duality in them. So, okay, in different variations. So it's showing like in other parts of your life, you move rather quickly. I don't want to say like you're a runner and like you like move around like a little bumblebee, but like how your mind moves. Like your mind will be on one topic and then it's on another topic and then it's on another topic. It's almost like a little bumblebee moving from flower to flower. Kind of like the bees here we had earlier at the beginning and the middle of the live chat. And so there's this like, oh, I want to try this and I'm thinking about this and like, but then you like to pick activities that take a little bit more time, you know. So thinking of your making of your wands and your runes, your nature made creations, they do take some time. So it's like this slowing down. So it seems like your mind moves around a lot, but your the physical things you do, like to be slow, you like to take it slow, and that helps to ground you. And then also, like, you know, with your swimming, like the mermaid, that's very slow, like movement. We're not like going like through the pool, right? So when it comes to relationships of the heart, we think like intuition, we think emotions. If we're just going to look at a relationship as like a tarot card, like a cups card or a heart card, right? And so when these potential relationships or lovers come into the picture, they want to go quick. So it's showing what they're trying to show you through these human beings, or what your higher self is trying to show you through these suitors, is that there's a part of you that like wants to move quickly, not in a relationship, but like quickly in my intuition. I want to learn this more. I want to know this more. I want to understand like how to be, you know, let's say clairaudient more quickly. I want to have clairvoyance more quickly. I want to have claircognizance more quickly. I want to, do these things more quickly. I want to like feel more quickly. When I make my decisions, I want to be able just to like, boom, make a decision instead of like feeling into it first and thinking. And like there are things, qualities that you admire in people who make decisions quickly. And so that's a quality that you admire. So you're attracting those type of lovers, even though, let's say you're like, well, when it comes to a relationship, I would like to move slow. So during your next time with yourself, like meditation or walking meditation or whatever, whenever you have time for yourself to just like be inwards, thank your higher self for showing you that you admire the quality of thinking on your feet quickly or making decisions quickly, and that you were being shown this. You acknowledge that you were being shown this through these relationships, but you no longer wish to see this lesson or this information through relationships anymore. You are more willing to have a relationship that takes its time, but maybe you would like to have an opportunity to utilize your own quick thinking on your feet, that quality that you admire. You would like opportunities to be able to utilize that, but not necessarily in a relationship. And so once your higher self knows that you caught the message, you understand it, then what's been happening now in terms of like these guys wanting to like get a relationship fast, that'll start to slow down and possibly cease. So I hope that makes sense. My foot went dead. Okay, let's go ahead and pull a card for you. 10 of Pentacles, which also all those pentacles is a slowing way down, but it's also the card of like slow, grounded, earthly sign type relationships. So yes, understand that on a 3D level, it's just like a bunch of guys that were trying to get with you like really fast. They were trying to pressure you into like having a relationship really fast. On a spiritual level, your higher self was bringing them in because it recognized that you like that quality of sometimes speed and quickness, not necessarily in getting a relationship fast or loving somebody like quickly, but you admire that type of energy. And so you show the universe, you show your higher self, you show God that you got the message by trying to embody that energy that you admire. Again, not necessarily in a relationship, but in other areas of your life. And so once you do, once you acknowledge, once you voice that, hey, I got the message, then the issue you've been having with these relationships of people moving too quickly, it'll start to slow down. Because really, they were just trying to pass along a message to you. Did the guys know that? Probably not. But their souls did. Okay. So thank you so much. Thank you for letting me read for you. Lilith says, expanded explosion of the mind nugget. Tara, how can we expand and develop our clairs? I would say it's just based on going with your gut more often than you go with your logic. And that was really hard for me to do, by the way, because my brain goes a million miles a minute. It does. I think of a lot of things at once. So I understand when people's minds do that, because I do that too. But I would say like, let's say I was coming home from school one day, like I used to be a school teacher. So let's say I was coming home from school one day and I just had this feeling like I used to always go to the gym afterwards. Like I had a very, very rigid routine. Like I finish up work, I go to school, or I go to the gym, and then I go to kung fu practice, and then I come home, and then I take a shower, and then I go work in the garden. So it's very rigid. And sometimes I get these inklings like, don't go to the gym today, just go for a walk at home. And my logic mind would be like, no, that's not what we do. That's not what we do every day. We go to the gym first. And but I started allowing my gut to guide me. So if my gut said, you know what, we're not going to the gym today, we're going to go walk around the neighborhood instead, then I walked around the neighborhood. And maybe I didn't get any messages then, but the message was in the gut feeling, that it was just listening. So I just listened to it. And then sometimes, let's say we were going to have some dinner and I just decided, it's like, what do you want for dinner? And it was kind of boring. So I used to eat like the same almost same thing every night. And I might decide, you know what? I just really am craving a bean and cheese burrito. And I might try to talk myself out of it. I'm like, well, the flour tortilla really isn't good for you. And like, well, and then like cheese, you can't have too much cheese, So I might have done all these things, but I went with it. I just, I did more of like the little things in my life, not like the big things of like, I'm getting a vision of something. It's more like my gut just decided, really was my intuition. We're going to walk around the block today. We're going to have a bean and cheese burrito today. We're going to call our friend today. And the more I led with that instead of talking myself out of it, the more I started to get more intuitive hits, you could say, that had nothing to do with my day to day. It was like the feeling of, hmm, I feel like I really should talk to one of my students today because I feel like there's something off. And although they may seem fine and jolly during class, I feel like something is off and then I talk to them. And the more I led into that, then it seemed like my claircognizance and my clairvoyance strengthened. That's just like the clairs that I have that are pretty strong on me. But then I tried to strengthen my other clairs. So I wanted to develop my clair audience because I didn't really have any clair audience. I mean, sometimes I'd hear some things, but so I decided, well, I love music. So I would start playing music and I would say, okay, higher self, the next song that plays will have a message for me. And without question, I would just like write down what the title was, what the lyrics were, and I would try to meditate on what that question was, or like, what the message was in that song. And so in that way, I was giving more power to my soul than I was to my ego. And everything just kind of strengthened through there. But I think it all starts with just following that little instinct that says, hey, do this today or call this person. It's like little things, or like, hey, don't forget to brush your teeth maybe 3 times today instead of twice. Like there's a reason, and your higher self knows it, but maybe the logic doesn't quite know it yet. So I hope that helps. I mean, that was, at least for me, my journey. I'm not saying that everybody's going to work that way, but for me, it took a trusting, which is like literally what they were talking about today was trust. I had to trust that my soul could see farther than my physical eyes could. And it's worked out so far, and the stronger it gets, I'd say, I don't know, the more magical my life gets. But I am by no means like at the pinnacle of anything. I'm still like on a journey, but it's been a fun one. um, Lilith, thank you for elaborating. You're very welcome. Shadowland says, how can I listen to my intuition more than my ego? Well, yeah, I mean, I give you my 2 cents, but then I also pull a card. But yeah, I said it's just deciding one day, kind of like we were talking about for the weekly reading. You just decide that you're like ready for this, like if your heart's just not ready for it, then it's not ready for it. It's not ready for the ego to hand over the reins to the soul. But when it is, you'll just know that it's like, okay, like the ego is always going to be like quack 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 quack. It's always going to be squawking in your ear. It squawks in my ear, So I'm not saying like I'm like all my intuition, I'm like super spiritual over here and I have no ego. I definitely have an ego, and it definitely is like in my ear all the time. It's just I don't listen to it as much because it's not as loud anymore. And so how do you make it not as loud anymore? Is just by more and more doing your first instinct. So if your first instinct is, I'm going to order the number 1 instead of the number 2 at McDonald's, or my instinct says that I'm going to call my best friend Betsy, or my instinct says right now I'm going to do this or that. Of course, your ego is going to be in your ear the whole time, like, Shadowlands, why are we doing this? Why are we calling this person? That's so silly that we're calling this person. There really was no reason to call this person. Let it do its thing. It's just blah, 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 blah. It's going to do that. But we do it despite what our ego is squawking in our ear. We call that person, or we open that book, or we take that drive or that walk around the block despite what my logic is telling me, despite what that squawking is going on in my ear. But I don't ignore that squawking forever. So if the ego is going off, I want to find out why it's going off too. So I might ask it, well, why don't you want me to call my friend right now? And it's like, well, because there was one time when we were in fourth grade and you called your friend and you ended up making her mad on the phone and then she wasn't your friend anymore. It's like, okay, okay, so this is a trauma from when I was a little kid. All right, I see where you're coming from, but that was the past. This is the present. I thank you for showing me that. I release that. I heal that. I send love and light to it. I send love and light to myself and to myself in the present, myself in the past. Let's move on. And then the ego's like, okay, okay, thanks. You listened to me. So I would say that that could be one way to help you. But let's also pull a card too. Bastet says, interesting you say Betsy. Had a grade school friend named Betsy. Interesting. Okay, so it's the star card, literally the card of intuition and following one's internal guidance. So it's just like a muscle at the gym. Some people might say, well, how do I get big muscles? Well, first and foremost, we have to say, I, I want to work out. Like that's the first thing. You don't lift anything first. You say the first thing is, I want to work out. I want to have a healthy body. I want to be strong. I want to be strong. Yeah, that's my mantra. I want to be strong. And then we take that with us into the gym. And the first thing you do, maybe we don't lift anything that day, we stretch. And then maybe I lift 2 pounds that day. And then a month later, I lift 3 pounds. And after that, I'm lifting 4 pounds and 5 pounds and just get stronger and stronger the more we do it. But at first, it seemed like an impossible task. Like, no way I'm ever going to curl like 30 pounds. That's crazy. I can barely even lift my water bottle. Like, this thing is heavy. Like, I can't do that. So it might seem like an impossible task if we haven't allowed our intuition to be the driving force in our life. It might seem really impossible. It's like, well, how do I even hear it? How do I even listen to it? And really, it's for some of us, it's a knowing. Some of us, it's a feeling. Maybe you do hear something, so it's your different clairs. It works differently on people, everybody. But it's doing it despite what your ego is saying to you, despite it saying, no, we don't need to go learn how to swim like a mermaid. No, we don't need to go to the gym. No, I don't need to do this. No, I don't need to do that. You do it anyway. And then when it realizes you're not really listening to it, but you do listen by way of asking it why it feels that way, it gets quieter and quieter and quieter and quieter till at some point you're like, ooh, like, I need to do that right now. And you get a little like, oh, wait, should I? Yes, I should, because it's just a little voice. It's like, hey, no, don't do it. I'm scared. But then you do it anyway. So it's doing it despite. And actually, I would say that's the definition of courage. It's not the absence of fear, but doing something despite the fear that you have. So let's see. Postelini says, wherever you get the urge to do something and then you think, but that doesn't make any sense, that's how you know. Definitely. And Lilith says, it's super curious. You'll be experimenting with hypnosis today. It seems to have been sparking my curiosity a lot. Very, very excited to learn from you. And then, Costalini. Nice. All right, you guys. Well, if that's all our super chats and super stickers today, then heck yeah, let's do some hypnosis. Oh, a long time ago in a galaxy far away, I had taken some hypnosis classes, not to be hypnotized myself, but to learn how to do it, but also try to hypnotize myself. And I realized it wasn't like I'm a zombie and I'm doing whatever the hypnotist says. I realized it was just a state of being, and what I allowed into my consciousness, meaning it was really, it's actually what helped me to push my ego aside and just kind of allow this like newness information. And of course, I was around people I trusted, they're not going to like tell me, okay, now get on all fours and run around like a little piggy. Like, I didn't really like want to like make a fool of myself, but it was more like giving like positive affirmations and stuff and allowing that to integrate. And then learning how to hypnotize myself in sort of a way where like you just kind of, I don't know how to put it. It kind of puts your ego to sleep so that you're more willing to accept the the information coming through from the hypnotist. But there has to be a trust level between you and the hypnotist, and also you and yourself if you're hypnotizing yourself. Okay. Lilith says, don't let the fear of failure stop you from trying. Yes. Yes. All right. Let's see. Okay. I have here with me, just because it's like Halloween and it seemed kind of Halloweeny, I have my little pocket watch and it seems like kind of kitschy for like hypnosis. You really, you don't need a pocket watch. You actually don't need anything like swaying in front of you, but I just decided it would be fun. I realized hypnosis was more like meditation, but anyway. I kind of expected there to be a ticking watch, but there wasn't, but that was kind of sad. Anyway, okay, so I'm gonna move to the side, I suppose, but mostly I'm gonna have this watch here. And what the watch is for, what anything that, let's say if a hypnotist is gonna use anything, it's just to have something to focus on. Because sometimes when people try to go into meditation and then they say, now focus on your third eye, some people have a trouble like visualizing a third eye or feeling into a third eye. So they say, they get frustrated and they say, I can't meditate. So oftentimes to help people overcome that, they give themselves something to focus on with their literal eyeballs. So they say, focus on the watch. And it's really not the watch, it has nothing to do with it. It just helps your brain to focus on something while your soul is taking in the information. So that's my little spiel. People who actually do like hypnosis probably have like a different way of explaining it. I'm not like a professional. I just, I'm pretty good at making the ego go to sleep. So we'll just say that. Okay. All right, you guys. Okay. Let me remember how I usually do this. All right. All right. If you guys are ready, then we are going to go into our hypnosis session. So I'm trying to get myself out of frame, so you just focus on this watch. Okay. Get yourself into a nice, comfortable space, a place you'll be undisturbed for the next several minutes. Place that you feel most comfortable, most relaxed, and we'll sink into it now. I'm going to count down from 10 to 1, at which point you will feel total peace and total relaxation. 10. Your eyes begin to feel heavy. Your jaw begins to loosen. Any tension that we felt in our face, in our head, slowly begins to disappear. 9. We feel that relaxation, that release moving down our neck muscles, the head lolling from side to side. 8. Feeling the shoulders fall away from the ears. Feeling that relaxation. Eyes closing now. 7, 6, 5. Feeling the muscles begin to release down the arms and the fingertips. Feeling your torso begin to slacken. The hips. No longer feeling the pressure of the day. 5. Feeling relaxed down the thighs, almost like a cooling massage down the legs, down the calves. 4, 3, 2, feeling that relaxation down your toes and the whole of the body, feeling total peace, total surrender, total happiness. 1, total relaxation, total peace. As you continue to hear the sound of my voice, you will take in and remember my words, even after your eyes have opened once again. I trust my intuition. I trust my soul. I trust my path. I trust my intuition. I trust my soul. I trust my path. I put my faith and my trust into the hands of the unknown, knowing that it forever has my best interest at heart. There is no need to fear my intuition, no need to fear my soul. My soul, my God, is always with me, guiding me, aiding me, helping me to grow. As I begin counting from 1 to 10, you will wake up feeling invigorated, feeling relaxed, feeling more confident and self-assured than you have felt in a long time. 1, starting to feel the sensation in your toes. 2, starting to feel the muscles in the legs. 3, 4, 5, beginning to feel the stirrings in your torso, in your arms. 4, 6, 7, 8, feeling your neck and your shoulders coming back to life. 9, starting to feel the fluttering in your eyes, your jaw. 10, wide awake, feeling absolutely invigorated, relaxed, and more confident that you have felt in a long time. All right. Well, I haven't done a hypnosis session in a long time. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed our little hypnosis session. And thank you for everybody who allowed me to do these super chat and super sticker readings with you guys. I mean, that was just freaking amazing. Thank you. I learned a lot. And Costalini says, well, that felt good. Well, I'm glad you guys like that. Maybe I'll try to do more little hypnosis sessions here and there. But thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you to Lilith Phoenix for being our guest interviewer today with Edgar Allan Poe. I was definitely fangirling, but I feel like I'm coming down now. I finally like started to like ground a bit, but I will definitely go back and rewatch that as I edit it and create its own separate video so that other people can watch that without having to watch the whole live chat. Although I do encourage people to rewatch the replay of the live chat because there's a lot of good things that are going on in the chat itself. So a lot of good things that our friends are saying there. Thank you to everybody who has this space with me and hangs out with me on these Sundays. And I hope you have a fabulous week. I don't know what's happening tomorrow, but I feel like it's good stuff. Yeah. So anyway, love you guys. Lilith says, I need a Tara on the daily to hypnotize me to sleep. Ooh, that gives me an idea. Maybe I'll make it like a hypnosis video and then people could watch that. I mean, we could do that. Thank you. That's a great idea. Lilith said, my pleasure. All right. Thank you guys. And I hope you have a fabulous day. Peace, love, and chicken grease. Peace out. Bye, y'all.